political science professor, Louisiana State University, Shreveport. Hey, Dr. Jeff, how have you been?
All right, thanks. How about yourself?
We were talking in the last segment about Louis Avallone, local Republican guy. You probably know Mr. Lewis, and electoral college voter. And the number of, hey, stupid, how can you vote for Trump? Emails and voicemails and messages that he's received in excess of 40,000. Mm-hmm. What have you heard about this concerted effort by the Democrats? It's got to be the Democrats and others to throw a wrench in the works of the Electoral College.
Well, I think it's therapy, a temper tantrum being thrown. You add up his total and some of the other electors in the state, that's in the hundreds of thousands of these missives that they've received, which it's interesting. It's related to these individuals, a couple of Democrat electors out west who call themselves the Hamilton electors. That's after Federalist number 68, supposedly written by Hamilton, which talks about the Electoral College and the duties of electors. And it's interesting because actually this whole entire effort, most of these messages coming from out of state, is in fact contrary to what Hamilton argued in number 68, where he said, in fact, that delegates electors should be insulated in a sense from these larger popular passions, which is why he argued they ought to meet in their state capitals and not be subject to these national pressures. But yet that's exactly what these people are doing, and some of them saying they're doing it in the name of Hamilton.
As I recall, the certified results of each state have to be delivered to the president of the Senate by, I think it's December 13th. Is that correct? And
I think it's the 19th.
I think the vote is the 19th, but it has to be delivered. Anyway, and yet you see yesterday that the federal judge in Pennsylvania says you got to do a hand count of the votes. What consequences, what results will all these recounts, to use my term again, wrench in the works? What's the worst that could happen here?
Well, I think if we look back at Bush versus Gore in 2000, that Supreme Court case, it essentially said that at a certain point, there are a couple of things, but one of those being that at a certain point, you've got to stop counting. I mean, the process is the process, and you do the best you can, but you have to have results by constitutionally established dates. And so, they can go and count for a few days, but when time runs out, then they just have to stop where they are. And, the fact of the matter is Trump won by several tens of thousands of votes in all the states that are where recounts are being attempted. And
I think I saw that in Michigan, the early recounts had garnered one extra vote for Clinton, and I'm being totally serious.
Yeah, so it's simply not going to happen. I mean, they could recount to the end of time, and it's highly unlikely that Trump's going to lose his lead in any of those states.
LSUS political science professor Jeff Sadow talking to you this morning. Let's talk about Saturday. Senate race and the congressional race in our areas are the two we're watching closely. What are you anticipating? Of course, turnout's going to be low. Are you expecting any really big surprises?
No. The way the polls have been trending, the way that the data looked after the general election, is that the Republican candidates in each case, they're probably going to rack up anywhere between 55 to 60% of the vote, maybe even higher than that. And just something incredible would have to happen for that result not to happen.
Mike Johnson wins pretty easily, and John Kennedy wins easily?
Yeah. Again, just something really spectacular is going to happen in the next couple of days to change that trajectory.
A lot of people say something dramatic happened to elect Trump, but on the reverse side, nothing's brewing like that.
No, I mean, in the case of Trump, you had some polls that actually had him in the lead, and then others had him fairly close on the national vote. Of course, that's a national vote, not by electoral votes, not by states. And, here when we've got polls showing, there's been no polling in the 4th District contest around here, but when we have polling in the Senate contest that shows Kennedy with no worse than about a 15-point lead, I mean, that's not, you're just not going to see that kind of dramatic reversal, and particularly given the dynamics of these kinds of elections, general election runoffs in Louisiana in December, they tend to favor Republican candidates.
and really low turnout, right? I mean, across the state.
Yeah, it'll be it's really remarkable. If you look, for example, at the 3rd District, which is the other contested race, if you look at that contest a few years ago, 2 Republicans running as now, turnout dropped 70% between November and December, and it's probably not going to be that dramatic of a fall here in the 4th District or statewide in the Senate race, but it could easily be half.
Could such a low turnout, could such a low turnout affect results to any dramatic degree?
Yeah, they'll favor the Republican candidate, who's already, in both cases, already has a big lead, and I suspect that some of the dynamic with this election in particular, much has been made about all these coastal liberals sending money into Foster Campbell so he can run a few more ads and get some phone banks going and all that. But actually, I think probably what's going to happen is Republicans are just simply going to want to spike the ball in the end zone on this one, and they're going to really be motivated to turn out.